How do you solve a problem like Huntara? Well, actually, Huntara really wasn't much of a problem. I mean, come on, she's a basic figure with armor. But she looks really cool. She's very, very different looking than most other Masters of the Universe characters. Part of it being her purple skin and her white mohawk. I mean, you just don't get that many purple skin characters in, well, almost any toy line. And she definitely looks like kind of a, I wouldn't say a reject of the 1980s, but she definitely looks 1980s. And that's kind of one of the cool parts about doing a lot of the obscure characters, because they were designed for the animation. They weren't designed to be action figures. And now, as part of classics, we're able to convert these figures or these characters for the first time into something that can be held, articulated, posed on your desk. It has what's called permanence. It takes a flat 3D image of a character that you watch that was a passive experience, and converting it into an action figure is actually a complete physiological difference, because now you have something physical to play with, and it becomes almost more real than real. I know, I'm getting into like Jean-Luc Baudrillard simulation and simulacra kind of stuff. Go watch The Matrix. But the point being is getting a character that we saw as a kid finally as a figure is a really, really rewarding thing. And it's part of what classics was all about. It was getting to these characters that you always wanted, that you saw in the animation, and you can now put with your collection and pose on your desk. And if you're a fan of purple skin, blue armor, white ponytail, mohawk, I don't know, I'm running out of ways to describe her. But she's badass. And the figure is double badass because she came with an axe, which actually wasn't for her. The axe that she came with was supposed to be for Ular there in the center. So with all of these figures in production at the same time, Lizard Man, Ular, Ninja Warrior, Huntara, there was a mix-up. The engineering group took the axe for Ular and gave it to Huntara, because this is a perfect example of how most people in the toy industry have no idea who these characters are. No idea. You have to get really lucky to have either a marketing manager or a toy sculptor, like the Four Horsemen in this case, who actually know who these characters are and can put love into them. Now, Huntara, granted, didn't come with that many accessories. We looked at giving her the extra head with the ninja mask, as well as maybe some unignited lightsabers. Okay, they're not actually lightsabers, they're laser swords. But unfortunately, we couldn't afford that. And the engineering group, who saw that she only came with the 2 laser swords, and most characters came with a little bit more, well, they just made the assumption that the axe was hers. When they were put on display at San Diego, the axe was just slightly pointing towards her. So engineering just made the assumption it was hers, because again, perfect example of how much people in the toy industry who are not, marketing managers or sculptors don't necessarily have an understanding of the IP, of the property. So this axe that was designed for Ular and clearly looks like it should be for him, it's got a wood handle and it's all, bashed up like that, well, it came with Huntara. And you could just give it to Ular if you wanted, or if you really felt strongly that, Huntara needed another accessory that she never touched, had, or used, hey, give it to her. But, she's got her 2 laser swords, and honestly, outside of possibly that second head, which I regret that we couldn't afford at the time, heads cost a lot. Luckily, the new She-Ra show from Netflix hadn't come out at the time, so we didn't even have to pay attention to the version of Huntara from that show because it didn't exist. And honestly, as a toy guy, and I'll admit as a Star Wars fan, anytime you get to do an action figure that comes with lightsabers that's not a Star Wars character is pretty darn cool. Because, Star Wars doesn't own laser swords. Okay, well, they do. But it's cool when they can sneak into other things. I mean, was a Black Knight and Marvel and Huntara. There's not too many, but they're out there. And it's fun to, have laser swords. Because laser swords are, 20% better than regular swords. And you can make them look really cool in Photoshop because, lights. It would be really cool if you could actually have an action figure with a light-up lightsaber. That would be cool. So yeah, I'm big on, the clear weapons. They look cool. They're awesome. And now you have a Huntara with an axe. So, laser sword, axe. You choose.